Alright folks, welcome back. In our last section, we managed to finish off building out our editable question 1, which is the page you're seeing right now. We were able to make edits to our title, and we can upload our own image, which is really good. So let's move on to finish off the rest of the editable questions, and hopefully we'll get into a nice flow state where we can just code the rest of them in a nice and steady pace. So let's come back to our code and let's open our editable question 2. Okay, so again, let's add the use client on top of the file because this is going to be a client-side component again. And then don't forget to receive our props, so page slug as well as the step data. And inside, let's grab the query client from use query client, import that from 10-stack-query. And then let's grab the register, handle submit, reset, watch, form state from a React hook form again. So we want to use the use dirty and errors. So it's equal to use form, import that from React hook form. And inside we'll set the default values to be, so the title is going to be step data.title, and then give it a fallback of empty string. And then subtitle will be step data.subtitle and empty string as fallback. And the image file by default is going to be null again. And then we need the const selected image file is equal to watch image file, and let's grab the image file type is equal to selected image file at index 0, and then type dot split, so split by the slash, and then grab index 0. And then we'll set the state of preview, so preview set preview is equal to use state, import that. By default, it's going to be null. And again, we need that use effect hook to watch for changes of the image file and setting the preview. So let's say use effect and open that. We'll say if selected image file at index 0, if that exists, and then if the image file type is equal to image, then we'll do const reader is equal to new file reader. I think you can probably just copy paste from your editable question 1, but if you want to follow along here, that's also fine. So reader.onloadEnd is equal to this function. Let's open that. So set preview, and then we'll set it to reader.result. And below that, we'll say reader.read as data URL selected image file. So we'll pass the selected image file at index 0. And else, the else block will say set preview and then set it to null. And inside the dependency array, we'll just say selected image file. So listen to the changes of this value. Okay, next we'll construct the mutation function now. So const, and let's import use mutation from 10-stack-query. Open that. So we need to grab the mutate, and I'm going to name it save question just like before. And we also need the is pending. In here, we'll say mutation function is going to be an async function, and we'll have the title, subtitle, as well as image file. The function itself, let's open that, and we'll say let file URL is equal to step data.image.source. So again, we're using the existing image if no new one is uploaded. And then we'll say if image file, if that exists, then const form data is equal to new form data. And then form data dot append image file. below that, we're going to call the same endpoint that we constructed before. So the S3 upload endpoint. We're going to call that. So const upload response is equal to await Axios, import that, to post, and the endpoint is /API/S3-upload, and we'll attach the form data. And then file URL is equal to upload response.data.file URL. And after we're done handling the image, we'll be able to update everything. So let's say const is equal to await Axios.patch, because we're updating. So the endpoint is going to be /API/lovepage/update !slug is equal to page slug. And don't forget the body. So step ID will be 2 because we're in question 2 now. And then the updates we want to make. So title and then subtitle. And the image, let's open that. We'll say the source is going to be file URL, and the alt tag, you can literally put whatever you want. So I just put an image here. And let's also grab the data. And then by the end, we'll return the data. On success, we'll say data. And we can probably just go grab the same toast here. So grab this toast and paste it here. We'll also invalidate the query. So query client dot invalidate queries. The query key, we've set it to be love-page, and this should be a page slug. And we'll also have to reset the form. So title will be data.content.steps.find. For each step, we'll just check step.id is equal to 2.title. And the subtitle is going to be similar. So data.content.steps.find, and then for each step, we'll say s.id is equal to 2.subtitle this time. And the image file will just be null again. And also don't forget to set our preview to be null. And let's also handle the on error. So on error, let's open that. I like to console log the error. You don't have to. So error, saving the question, and then error.response.data. And again, I'll grab the same toaster here. So grab that, and I'll paste it here. And then remember, we need to use the use mutation again for going to the next step. So we have that button at the end of at the bottom of the page, right? So const mutate, and this one we're gonna call it go to next step is equal to use mutation, and open that. The mutation function will be again async function, and I'll say const data is equal to await Axios.patch. We're still calling the same endpoint, so /API/lovepage/update !slug is equal to page slug. But we're passing slightly different content in the body, right? So the update settings, we're setting it to true so that our backend knows what action to perform. And then the updates, we say settings. Obviously, we need to change the current step to be 3 so we can actually move on to the next step. And again, at the end, we will return data. Let's also handle the on success. Will just simply be a query client dot invalidate queries. And the query key is love page slug, and this should be a curly brace, not the square bracket. Let me change that. There you go. And we also need the onSubmit function. So const onSubmit is equal to, let's construct the payload again. The title is equal to data.title, and subtitle will be data.subtitle, and the image file be data.image file at index 0. And then we're going to call the save question function and then pass the payload to it. All right, so we're ready to just flesh out the look of it. I'll say class name is equal to text center. And in here, again, we'll open a form. And this form will have the on submit is equal to handle submit on submit again. On submit. Inside, let's open a div with a class name of flex item center gap 8. And inside, open another div with class name of relative margin x auto with fit and flex 1. And inside this div, we're going to need an input field again. So input, and we'll import that from UI. It's a self-closing component. And again, so we'll say register title and give it a class name of text 5 extra large, font bold, text brand, tracking wide, text center rounded extra large, and then the border dashed, border 2, border brand slash 30%, and on hover we want border brand slash 60%, and on focus border brand, and the minimum width will be 600 pixels, padding 8 all around and padding right 16. And we also want to add a little pencil icon with a class name of size 6, text brand slash 40%, absolute, and right 4, top 1/2, minus translate y 1/2, pointer events none. Below this div, let's open another div with a class name of flex item center, and in here we need a button, so let's import the button from UI, and this button is going to be checking if the pending state is true, then we'll show a loader, a spinning loader from Lucid, and give it a class name of size 6, animate spin, text grade 500. Otherwise, we'll say check, so import check icon from Lucid React, and then give it a class name of size 6, text green 500. And this button will have type submit, and the variant is going to be ghost, size will be icon, and class name will be transition opacity, and if is dirty is true, we'll say opacity 100, otherwise opacity 0. So one closing div, two closing div, open another div with a class name of flex relative item center, justify center, margin top 10, and in here another div with class name of minus margin minus 2 rounded extra large with 1/2 bg gray 900 slash 5%, padding 2, ring 1, ring inset, ring gray 900 slash 10, on large and above minus margin 4. By the way, you can probably just copy and paste from your previous components if you want. So on large and rounded to extra large, and then padding 4. And inside this div, we can literally, because I just checked, it's exactly the same. We can just copy this whole label and then put it here. So we can save some time. So we'll copy the label and then paste it here. And just need to update a few things, which is the image. Inside the image, we need to change the source to be Riz. That's it. And don't forget to import the icon. And after the closing label, closing div, another closing div, let's open a div with class name of flex, item center with fit, margin X auto, margin top 10, gap 8. And inside, open another div with class name of a relative, margin X auto with fit flex 1. Inside this div, let's open an input again. And for this input, we need to register that to be subtitle. The required value will be true, and the error message will be this is required. And let's give it a class name of text extra large, font bold, text brand, tracking wide, text center rounded extra large, and again border dashed, border 2, border brand slash 30%, on hover border brand slash 60%, and on focus border brand minimum width 600 pixels, padding 6, padding right 16. And below this input, let's say errors dot subtitle. If we have that, then we'll just add a little p tag saying errors dot subtitle dot message, and give this p tag a class name of text red 500 and text small. And below that we'll say pencil, again a pencil icon with a class name of size 6, text brand slash 40%, and absolute right for top 1/2 minus translate y 1/2 pointer events none, and close that. And did we add the errors title for the title? Let me quickly check. Seems like no. Let me add that, because why not? So the required and value is true. The message will be this is required. And again, we should probably add that. So errors dot title, if that's true, we'll just add this little p tag again. So errors dot title dot message, and just quickly give it a class name of text red 500 and text small. Okay, below this pencil, below this div, we need another button, but because it's just exactly the same button, I'm just gonna copy and paste it here. You can do the same. Let's jump out of our form and add the go to next step button. And I think we could just grab that from our editable question 1. Yeah, let's just copy that and paste it here. All right, so let's test it out and come back to our page. So I'm just gonna change this to something that actually makes sense. So will you be my Valentine? Okay, and I'm gonna click on next step, and just a reminder that what happens when we click on the go to next step button, it's gonna call this endpoint, which is the same endpoint we're using here, but because we've set this flag, the backend knows that we are just moving to the next step. We're not actually making changes to our data. So okay, let's give that a go. And by the way, I need to save that first. So let's save our title, and I'll click on go to next step, and it takes me to our step 2. How cool is that? And of course we can edit this title as well. All right, let's give that a try. So save that, and it says changed successfully. Let me refresh that just to prove it's actually working. Nice. We can edit the subtitle as well. Let's give that a go. Nice. All right, so let me turn it back to thank you, because that just doesn't make much sense. And what was this again? So don't go yet, I believe. Save that. And of course we can change the image as well. Let's try that as well. So I'm going to choose one of the GIFs that I have prepared, and it's going to upload, and now it's displaying our uploaded image. Very, very nice. All right, let's come back to our code and move on to editable question 3. So we need to create that component. So under our components and editable questions, let's add editable question 3.js and RFCE it. And in here, we also need to add case 3. So return editable question 3 and import that. And the two props, we can just copy paste it. And we're good to go. All right, let's flesh out our editable question 3. So if you remember, question 3 is just a question to answer no, right? And again, we can reuse a lot of our existing code to save us some time. So I'm going to put editable question 2 on here. We can grab the page, slug, as well as step data, and we can just grab the same thing here, put it in our editable question 3, and we also need React hook form, except it's gonna be just one default value here. We don't need all of that, and don't forget to import it. We also need to import the toast, and don't forget to add use client on top. For this component, we just need the image file. We don't need title, we don't need subtitle. And then these three, we can just grab them here. Super easy. And the use effect, again, we can just grab that as well. Don't forget to import use effect. And the mutation function, again, is going to be very, very similar, but with a slight modification. So we can first just grab all of that and we'll make some changes here. So right about where we're calling our endpoint, we need to change the step ID to 3, and we don't need title, we don't need subtitle, so we can just keep the updates with the image object and we are good. And inside reset, also we don't need that, we also don't need subtitle, just keep the image file. And our go to next step function, we can also grab that and just paste it here. Everything stays the same except we need to set the current step to number 4. And the onSubmit function, we can again grab that and minus a few things. So we don't need title, we don't need subtitle. And for the HTML part, we can let's just grab the whole thing and we'll do subtraction. So let's copy all of that and paste it here, and we can close this file and let's do some subtraction here. We don't need this input field because inside this component we're only showing one thing, which is the image. So we can delete that, and obviously we don't need this entire div. We can get rid of that. Starting from this div is what we actually need. So let's scan it through and see what we need to keep. The image source, let's change the source to be sad, and then the alt tag, also change it to sad. Everything else stay the same, and obviously we don't need this div as well, so we can just delete that. I believe that's everything for this component. So let's take a look just to make sure we imported everything. And oh, we don't need these two. Get rid of that. And make sure you import the image plus icon from Lucid, as well as loader icon and a button. Did we import that? Yes. Okay, so let's check it out and let's come back to our page, and I'm gonna click on next step and we should be able to see, oh, we need to import that. So let's come back up here. We need to import use form. That's right. Use state, okay. Use mutation. Alright, so we got this sad GIF image, which is quite big. I think it's because I've included the width 1/2. Would that change the size? Yes. Okay. Alright, let's move on to building out editable question 4. So again, we need to create that component, editable question 4.js, and just RFC it. Inside editable quiz, let's say case 4, return editable question 4, import that. And again, we will pass the same thing down to editable question 4. All right, in here, let's receive that. So page slug and step data. Again, it's going to be a client-side component. And in here, let's first say const date set date is equal to use state, import that. By default, we'll say null. So this is the component where we're asking the user to pick a date, right? Again, we need the query client. So query client is equal to use query client, import that. Then again, we need to use React hook form. So let's say register, handle, submit, reset, form state. Let's grab is dirty and errors. So use form, import that, and our default values is just gonna be the title. So step data dot title and empty string. And our mutation function, so we'll say mutate, save question is pending is equal to use mutation, and the mutation function will be async. We just need the title, so open that, and then we'll say const data is equal to await Axios, import that, dot patch, and our trusty endpoint, so slash API slash love page slash update with a slug equals page slug, and the body will be step ID, this time will be 4, and the updates we can just say title, and then we'll return data after it's done. For the on success, we'll say we'll make a toast again, and don't forget to import the toast from Sonner. After the toast, we'll say query client dot invalid queries, and the query key will be love page again, page slug. And for the reset, we just need to reset one value, which is the title. So data.content.steps find, and the s.id is equal to 4 this time, the title. And the go to next step function, again, we can just grab it from before, except this time we needed to set our current step to be 5. And the onSubmit function, again, similar, so just grab that and then change the title to be formData.title, and you are good to go. Okay, let's construct our HTML. So in here, class name is equal to text center, and again, we need a form. So inside the form, give it a div with a class name of flex item center gap 8, and inside another div with class name of relative margin x auto with fit flex 1. Inside we need an input, import that from UI. By the way, I'm just typing it out again because I hate to come to the realization that I forgot to import a bunch of stuff when the page actually loads. And don't forget to change this to be on submit is equal to handle submit, and then on submit. And for this input, so we will register that with React hook form, and it's going to be title. The required value will be true. Message, this is required. And the class name, I don't mind copying that. So yeah, so incrementally copy stuff. Don't just copy the whole thing. I think it's the lesson that I learned. And the pencil and the error message, we can again copy that. Now don't forget to import that. And then below that is a button, right? So let's grab that and put it below this closing div, the button. And let's import that as well. Import the loader as well, and as well as the check icon. Okay, so after this closing div, one closing div, two closing divs, let's open another div with a class name of a relative margin x auto with fit flex 1 margin top 10. Inside, we'll give it a p tag with a class name of text extra large, font bold, text brand tracking wide, text center, and we'll just render the step data dot sub title. And below the form, let's open another div with the class name of flex, item center, justify center, gap 4, margin top 4. And in here, we need that calendar component, right? So import calendar from UI, and it's a self-closing component. The mode is equal to single. The selected is equal to the date state that we made up here, and the onSelect is equal to set date. And let's give it a class name of rounded medium border. Below this calendar, let's add a button. So button, which just say submit. And this button, again, size is large, and disabled state will be true if there's no date selected. And below this div, we just need the go to next button again. So let's copy that. So we can just grab it from our previous component, and we are good to go. All right, let's come back to our page and see if we can load the editable question 4. So again, I'll click on next step, and it should take me to this component. Nice. And just to confirm that everything is editable, so let's give that a go and save it. And when I refresh the page, it's still here. Are you free on? And I'll just put it back. Okay, let's come back to our code again and move on to editable question 4. So under components, under editable questions, create a new file and call it editable question 5.js. And just RFC it. Let's change that to use client and receive our page, slug, and step data. And make sure we add that case in our switch. So case 5, let's return editable question 5. Import that and just copy paste this. All right. Okay, so yes, again, we need that. Import it. And our use form, we need that as well. Import it. In the default values, we just need one value, right? The title. And the mutation function, let's type it out. Let's type it out. So const mutate save question and is pending is equal to use mutation. The mutation function will say async title. So const data is equal to await axios imported patch and /API /of page /update. Slug is equal to page slug. And the step ID now will be 5. The updates will just send title and return data. The onSuccess will give it a toast. Remember to import, and below the toast, invalidate queries again, and we'll reset the title value to be this one. For our go to next step button, remember to change this current step to be 6, and then on submit. And for the HTML, I'm just gonna put everything here. You can pause and take a look because it's literally exactly the same thing with slight difference. And I'm just gonna scroll it slowly and you take a look what you need to modify. This part is the same, and this is probably where you need to modify your existing code. We are iterating through the step data, the options, which is just that food pictures that we saw earlier, and the rest should be the same. Okay, let's come back again and give that a go. So click on next step, and voila, we're seeing the pictures of food. And just quickly double check. I will try edit the text, and it's been changed successfully. So I put the original text back. So what food would you like to eat? Awesome. So let's come back again and just keep pushing. We're really close. We'll come back to our editable quiz, and let's say editable question 6.js. And again, we'll add a case 6. Let's return editable question 6. Import that and paste that here. Okay, I know it's a little bit repetitive, but we are almost there. So let's change that to use client and receive the page slug as well as step data. We need that and we need that. And then we need our mutation function. So I'll put it here. You can take a look. The only change is the step ID. And then you know what to do. The go to next step function, change the current step to number 7. And then on submit. And the HTML is exactly the same as our editable question 5. You can just copy and paste that part here. Okay, so let's come back here and give that a go again. I'll click on next step and voila. And again, just to quickly double check, we can modify the text and it's been changed. Nice. All right, let's move on to editable question 7. So editable question 7.js. You know what to do, so grab the page slug and step data, grab the query client and the use form from React Hook form. Remember to import that. And we need our use mutation function, import that as well. Remember to import Axios. Make sure your step ID is 7 and you know what's coming next. The go to next step function. Make sure you set the current step to 8 and the on submit function. And again, I'll just paste the entire div here and you can pause the video and take a look. Okay, so once you're done that, don't forget to add the case 7, return our editable question 7, import that. And now we can come back to our page and we see the activities component. Very, very nice. So let's finally create our final question. So under editable question, so editable final question question.js, and remember to add our final question here. So case 8, let's return our editable final question, import that. And let's quickly flesh out this final question. So use client page slug step data, put that here, put the use form here, and the image stuff here, the use effect hook, and our mutation function. I'll put it here, and you can pause the video, take a look, whatever you need to do. Here, the step ID is gonna be 8. The content of updates will be title and an image. Everything else should stay the same, but double check you imported everything. And then our on submit function and our HTML. Again, I'll just dump everything here. But don't panic yet. Let me scroll back. Same thing as before, right? We have the form and an input field, a submit button, and a label here to handle our image upload. And eventually after the label, the closing div, another closing div. Here we just need to add another button. So this will be the publish button because this is our final question. The user should be able to publish the page once they're done, right? So we'll say for this button, give it a on click handler and we'll say publish page. We don't have this function yet, and the disabled state will be equal to is publishing. And why don't we just create that mutation function right now? So let's come back here and just below this on submit function we'll say const, and let's open the use mutation. Let's grab the mutate and we'll call it publish, and we'll call it publish page just like we did. And the is pending state, let's rename that to is publishing. And inside the mutation function we can say async, and then const data is equal to await axios dot post, and we'll create a new endpoint that will be /API /love -page / publish, and the body will pass slug, will be page slug. and we'll return the data. And on success, we want to take the user to the published page, right? So let's first give it a toast and change this to be, oops, and then just change the title to be published. And I want to add a little celebrating emoji here. The description, I want to change that to, let's change that to your page is now live. And in order to direct our user to a different page, let's use router. So up here, let's say const router is equal to use router, import that from navigation, and come back down here. We'll say router.push, and we want to push the user to slash. So this will be a dynamic page slug. And in order to see this page, we need to create this dynamic route under our app folder. So under app, let's create a new folder and call it slug with the square bracket. And then page.js, put it here for now. Let's worry about that in a bit. And the on error, let's also handle that as well. So error, let's say console.error, and I'll just say error publishing your page. And also give it a toast that says something went wrong. And the description, we'll just say, please try again later. Okay, so let's come back to our button and we'll finish off this button. Let's say variant is equal to outline, and let's give it a class name of margin top 12 and group. The size is gonna be large, and inside let's open a ternary operator and say is publishing. If that's true, we'll just say publishing ... and otherwise we'll just say publish. And outside this ternary, let's just add a little icon, arrow right icon, import that from Lucid, and give it a class name of margin left 2 size 4 on group hover translate x1 and then transition transform. Alright, let's come back to our page and see our final step. And did I not import input? And there we go. We see the title, we see the image, and we see this publish button right here. Now let's complete our publish endpoint. So let's come back here and under API, under love page, let's see how we defined the endpoint. So API love page publish. So let's create a new folder and call it publish. And then inside this folder, another route.js file. And let's say export async function post, and we'll open a try catch. Inside we'll say await get auth session, import that. And if there's no such user, we'll just return response.json with an error message unauthorized and a status code of 401. Below that, we'll grab the slug from rec.json, missing a comma here, and we can update our database by saying const love page is equal to await prisma, import that dot love page dot update, and the condition is slug as well as user ID will be session.user.id, and the data what we want to update is just the published boolean. We want it to be true now, and after it's done, let's return response.json love page. And inside the catch, so console.error, we'll just say error publishing the page, and also return a response.json with a message something went wrong and a status code of 500. Alright. Okay, so our next step is to create that dynamic slug page. So we can close off this endpoint and open our page.js, and this will be a async function. We'll again take advantage of the server-side component nature of Next.js, and we'll say params const slug. Let's grab that from await params, and then we can also grab the love page. So const love page is equal to await prisma, import that dot love page dot find unique. We can find it by doing slug as well as the published is true. So we'll find the page where the slug is this slug, and that's also published. And then we can say if there's no such love page, then we'll just return a simple private page message for the user, and then give it a class name of text center margin top 10, text 2 extra large, text brand, and font bold. Otherwise, we will return our published love page. So let's create a new component and then call it public love page. We don't have that yet, so let's add that in our components folder. So let's create a new file and call it public lovepage.js. And for this component, we want to receive the data from the love page that we just grabbed, right? So we'll say initial data is equal to love page. This will actually be a client-side component. So use client on top, and let's receive the initial data. In here, we'll say const current step, and then set current step is equal to use state. And by default, it's gonna be 1. And then const responses set responses is equal to use state again. And if you remember, we've done this before. So basically, we're gonna need to have that render current step function again. So I'll say const render current step. So first, let's find out the current step data from the initial data. We can say const step data is equal to initial data dot content dot steps dot find. We can find it by doing this. So step.id is equal to current step. And if there's no step data, then just return null. And then we can map step types to components. So we'll open yet another switch operator, but this time we'll switch the step data dot type. And if it's simple, we will return question 1. Now that we can actually reuse our question from before, which is really, really nice. We're gonna pass the on response equals handle response. We don't have this function yet, so we can just quickly put an empty function here just so it doesn't complain. So const handle response is equal to, and this will be an async function. Let's just put something here for now, and we'll come back to it. And the title is equal to step data dot title, and the image is equal to step data dot image. And if it's case conditional, so the question 2, right? So if current step is equal to 2, and then we're going to have a ternary operation here, and then it says return if the response dot answers dot question 1 is equal to yes. So if the user answered yes, then we're going to return question 2 yes, import that, and again pass on the on response equal to handle response. Title will be step data dot title, and subtitle will be step data dot subtitle, and image is gonna be step data dot image. Let's close that. Otherwise, we're gonna render question 2 no, import that, and the image is equal to step data.image. And you might be wondering, these question components we created before are just static pages, right? How are they gonna receive these dynamic values and render them? Well, we're gonna handle that in a bit. And I'll say break, and if case calendar, we're gonna return question 3, import that. And for this component, again, onResponse is equal to handle response. The title is equal to step data.title. The subtitle is gonna be step data.subtitle. And let's close that. And then for case grid, we'll say const grid component is equal to, and we can do another check here. So we'll say current step. If it's equal to 5, then we'll just render question 4. And if current step is equal to 6, then we'll render question 5. And otherwise, question 6. And below that, we'll just say return grid component with the onResponse is equal to handle response, and the title will be step data.title. And don't forget to import those question components. So let's come up here and import all of them here. And then if it's case final, we're going to render the final page all right, but we also want to send an email to our user with all of the responses, right? So say const send final email is equal to an async function. And let's open a try catch. Inside we'll say await fetch. The endpoint is going to be /API/lovepage/send email. We're going to create that endpoint together. And then the body here will say method is going to be post. The headers will be content dash type will be application/JSON, and the body will be JSON.stringify responses, and the owner ID will send it to be initial data.user ID. And let's just add a few console logs to see what we're doing. Console.log sending final email, and after the endpoint is called successfully, we want to add a console.log email sent successfully. Inside the catch, we'll say console.error failed to send email, and the error. And we want to call it immediately when our final page renders. So we'll say send final email, just gonna call it here. And after that, we'll render the final page. Import that, and we'll pass the responses. It's going to be equal to responses. And the title is equal to step data.title. Image is equal to step data.image. Let's close that. And finally, let's just add a default case. We will return null. And we are going to return the render current step. And just give it a class name of container margin x auto, as well as padding y8. So let's come back up and finish our handle response function. So inside this function, we'll say const new responses is equal to answers, and open that. Spread the responses dot answers first, and then the question, whichever question at our current step, and then set it to answer. This should be const. And below this, we'll say set responses, and then set it to new responses. And this should be async. We'll handle the conditional logic based on our step structure. So we'll say const current step data is equal to initial data dot content dot steps dot find. You can find it by doing this. So step.id is equal to current step. If current step data dot type is equal to conditional, then we'll check the condition and decide if we need to skip the step. So if current step is equal to 1 and the answer is no, we'll set the current step to be 3 and we can return. But if the current step is equal to 2 and the answer is yes, we'll set the current step to be 4 and we can return. And if it didn't go into this if block, we can just do the regular moving on to next step, which is set current step and we'll say previous plus 1. So we'll just increment by 1. And then we need to save the response from the girlfriend, right? So after this step, we'll open a try catch, and inside we'll say await fetch. And by the way, I'm just using the built-in fetch here. So fetch /API /love page /response, and the method, it's gonna be post, and the headers will be content type application /JSON /JSON, and the body will be JSON.stringify. We'll put the slug here as initial data.slug, and responses will be new responses. And inside the catch error, we'll say console.error failed to save response and error. All right, let's create those endpoints. So we need to create the response endpoint as well as the send email endpoint. And after that, we'll just modify slightly inside each of our question components, and we're pretty much done. So let's go to our API folder. Under love page folder, let's create a new folder and then call it response. And you know what to do, route.js. In here, we'll say export async function post, and let's open a try catch. We'll grab the slug and responses from await rec.json, and then let's call prisma. So const love page is equal to await prisma, import that love page dot update, where the slug is slug and what we want to update is the responses. So the answers will be responses. That's what we want to update. And after that, we'll return a response.json and pass the love page. And here we'll just say console.error, error saving response error, and return a response.json with a message, something went wrong, and a status code of 500. Okay, now let's take care of the email sending endpoint. So still under love page folder, create a new folder, and then it's called send email, and then route.js. So inside this endpoint, we'll say export async function post. Again, open a try catch. So first, let's grab the const responses as well as owner ID from await rec.json. Then let's grab the answers from responses. We needed the owner ID in order to fetch the owner's email, right? So let's say const owner is equal to await prisma, import that user.find unique, where the ID is owner ID, and we can select their email. So we just need the email. And just do a quick check here. So if there's no such user, we can just return response.json with a message that says owner not found. and give it a status code of 404. Otherwise, we'll just clean our responses and format it, and then create the email content, and then we'll just send it to our user. So let's first format the date. Let's say const formatted date is equal to new date, and we want to format answers.q4, the calendar question, remember, to locale date string. And then we'll create the email content by doing const email content is equal to, we can open a template string and say, here are their responses. Question 1, they gave you answers to question 1. And question 2, they gave answers to question 2. Question 3, we can use our formatted date. And then question 4 is answers to Q5. Question 5 is gonna be answers to question 6, and Q6 is answers to Q7. So at this point, you can decide which email sending service you want to use. So for me, I chose to use SendGrid. I've been using that. I like it. And I also like Resend. Resend is pretty nice, but for this project, I just set it up to use SendGrid. So either way, you need to go sign up to use their service and then grab their API key. I'm not going to walk you through that process because it's pretty straightforward. So for me, I'm just going to open my terminal and I'm going to install SendGrid email. And I am going to set my API key here, but also import SendGrid mail from at SendGrid mail. So if you also decided to go with SendGrid, let's construct the message together. So const message is equal to the to field will be owner.email. And then from, so this is your email that you set up in your SendGrid. So for me, it's hello@runbuilds.xyz. And for subject, I put someone has completed your can you go out with me. And the text field is just going to be the email content we created here. And then the HTML is going to be email content dot replace /n/g and br. That's all you need to do. And below this, we can finally call await SendGrid mail dot send message. And we'll also return a response.json with a success true. And inside the catch error, we'll just say console.error, and then error sending email error, and return a response.json with a message says fail to send email and a status code of 500. Alright, we're getting really close. One last step is to modify our existing question components so that they can also handle how to render our published love page. So let's go to question 1. In fact, let's just close all of them. It's kind of messy here. For all of those question components, we're not just rendering this static text or image anymore. We need to receive the data and see if we have that data. If we do, then we'll render that. So let's say title and image, and we can modify this h1 to be, if we have title, we'll show that. Otherwise, we'll just show this text. And for the image, we can do something similar. We'll say, let's cut that first, and say if we have image, then we can render an image with the source being image.source. And the alt tag, we'll say image.alt. And give it a class name of with full rounded extra large. So that part is the same. And otherwise, we'll just show what we had before. That's all we have to do. Let's move on to question 2, no. And here we'll say image, and you know what to do. So let's cut that, and I'll say if we have image, well, we can render an image with the dynamic value of image.source with image and then image.alt, and give it a class name of with full rounded extra large. Otherwise, we'll just show what we had before. And for question 2, yes, we will receive title, subtitle, and image. So we can change this h1 to be title or thank you, and you know what to do. So we can modify this to be image, then we'll render image with the source being image.source, and the alt will be image.alt, and the class name will be with full rounded extra large. Otherwise, you know what to do. And the h2, same thing, we'll do subtitle or the existing text. Okay, let's move on to question 3. Here, title, subtitle. Let's modify the h1. So if title, we show that first, otherwise we'll show this. And then the h2, we can change that to be subtitle or this. Okay, and then question 4, we'll receive the title here, and we'll just change that to be title or this. For question 5, same thing here, we get the title, so if title, otherwise this. And question 6, get the title here, and then we can just change this to be title or that. And last but not least, final page, we'll receive the title, image, and because we showed this earlier only for demonstration purpose, we don't want to show that on an actual published page, right? So we can modify a little bit. We'll say if there's no title and there's no image, then this is just a demo, right? Then we can show that, otherwise don't. So we'll put everything inside this if block and just move inside here, and the dependency array will also include the title and image. And then for the title, we can say title or that, as well as the image. So image, then we'll open an image with source being image.source, and the alt will be image.alt, and class name is with full rounded extra large. Otherwise, just show the final picture. And starting from this h2, surprise her, all the way down to here is part of our sales pitch. We don't want to show it on an actual published page, right? Because this user was already sold, they bought it. So let's just select everything starting from the h2 all the way down to this div. Let's cut that, and we'll say if we have title and we have image, then don't show anything. Otherwise, we can show that. And let's put that inside a React fragment. All right, time to check out our fruit of labor. Let's come back to our final editor page, and once we hit publish, it should take us to our published with the URL path being just /Jenny. Let's see if that actually happens. I'm gonna click on publish. It seems like I missed some imports again. So let me fix that real quick. Page.js, import that. Aha, very, very nice. Now let's click through all of the questions and see it from the perspective of the girlfriend. So let's click on yes, and it says thank you. Very nice. And I'm gonna keep clicking. I'll just randomly select a date. I know we are past Valentine's now, but let's just pick February 14th, and I'll click on submit. Okay, what food would you like to eat? Well, I'm gonna choose hot pot. Okay, and you see that's our edited text. So I'll choose boba. Boba is life, and hit on continue. What would you like to do after? I just want to go out for a walk, so I'm going to choose a park and continue. Thank you for being my girlfriend. Awesome. That is exactly what we expect to see. And I should also receive an email at this point. But as I just checked, I didn't. So I came back to my code and realized that I made a typo here. So inside your route.js under API, under love page, under send email, we had this endpoint, right? So here I made a typo. This should be new date, not new data. And after I added the API key in my end file, it seems like this endpoint has been hit successfully. And I do get an email from this email address, nice, and the responses that I just chose. Now, if you remember in the beginning of the video, I said normally this is when a typical tutorial will end. After deployment, they might just call it, right? But not us, because we're trying to learn how to build a SaaS from start to finish. So let's take a look at our roadmap and see what we need to do next. And obviously we can check off the step. We've done that. And we've also done the published page. That works. So next up, we need to deploy the app. Then we'll optimize our metadata for better SEO. And then we'll connect to our purchased domain. And finally, we will launch. I hope you're as excited as I am. So let's come back to our code editor. Let's first commit and push everything we have done so far. So git add and git commit. And I'm just going to leave a message with done. All right, we will push that. And then let's open our Vercel. So I'm going to come back to the browser and then open my Vercel. Click on the add new project. And let's import from our Git repositories. So click on import. And you can copy and paste all of your environment variables and put it here. So I'm going to do mine. You do yours. After you're done, click on deploy. You can see the detailed build logs here if you want. Awesome. So now it has been successfully deployed. We can continue to our dashboard and you can click on the deployments and then see the detailed information here if you want. So each time you make a git push, it's going to deploy automatically. At least that's how I set up. But for now, we need to update inside our Google Cloud Console to publish that app. So let's come to our Google Cloud Console and click on Publish App. Push to production, and we'll say confirm. And we'll also need to update the callback URI because now we got an open public URL. So let's copy this URL and come back here and then click on clients, click on your app, and we need to add the URI here as well. So you don't need the trailing slash, as well as the authorized redirect URL. So paste that here with the API auth callback Google and save that. So that now when user tries to log in, let's just jump to our pricing page. Let's actually give that a try. I'm gonna try sign in and continue with Google. It took me back to homepage, but if we go back to the pricing page, you can see now that I have successfully signed in. And now that we have a public URL, we can move on to optimizing our metadata. So we can check this off and come back to our code and open the utils.js file and scroll all the way down to the function construct metadata. We'll just say, can you go out with me? This is our website title. The description, for me, I put customize your questions and images to create a unique experience for your special someone. So this title and description is what you see when you hover over the tab on the site. Now you can see it actually changes to can you go out with me now. And we can update the URL to be our published URL. And the metadata base, we can also update that as well. And we'll also give it an open graph image here. Let's say open graph.png. And I have also prepared that image. We're going to put it under public folder. So I'll paste it here. So this is the image that people see when you share your website's URL, like inside Discord or Slack or Facebook or etc. etc. And if you want, you can also update the favicon, which is currently using the default Vercel favicon, but feel free to change that as well. And oh, let's also update the site name to be "Can you go out with me?" Okay, so now that our metadata is updated, we need to commit and push this to our repo again. So let's open that. We'll say git add and git commit. I'll just say update metadata and git push. And you can go back to your Vercel and click on deployments. You'll see that another build is happening right here, and you can watch to see it happen live. So let's check off this step as well. So while I was waiting for it to be deployed again, which seems like it's done now, nice, I checked out on GoDaddy for this Valentine's app domain, and it seems like the cheapest option is this valentinsapp.xyz. So I'm gonna purchase this domain. And once you get into the GoDaddy dashboard, click on domain and click on manage DNS. And we need to go back to Vercel's settings, which is right here. So click on settings, click on domains. We want to add new domain, and the new domain we want to add is the valentinsapp.xyz or whatever domain you purchased. So I'm going to put it here, and I'll say add a domain. Click on add. Right now it says invalid configuration, so we need to come back to our GoDaddy manage DNS dashboard and change this to be the number that Vercel gave us, which is this number. So change that number 76.76.2121 and save that. And also let's go back here again and grab the value for the CNAME and update it in our dashboard as well. So CNAME and save that. So it's going to take a bit of time, and just be patient, wait for it to be updated. And while we wait for that to happen, we can check off this step and start preparing for the launch. So what I do typically is that I have a launch list which looks like this. So what I usually do is I'll write a launch post that goes with this product. In this case, I've prepared something like this. I built an app that'll put an end to the question, how the fuck do I prepare Valentine's Day for her forever? And some bullet points. So this actually is exactly what I posted on my Discord server, another local tech community Discord server, as well as my threads and Twitter and LinkedIn. And just to quickly show you how you should launch your app on Hacker News if you're not a YC company. So I have the Hacker News site open here. For the title, you'll do this: show Hacker News. I built a something something that does something something. It's better to be straightforward and easy for people to understand exactly what you do just by reading your title, and then paste your link here. I don't include any text because I've noticed that if I don't put anything and people click on the title, it takes them directly to my site. But if you do, Hacker News is just going to render the detailed information about your post instead of taking them to your site, which I think it's not ideal. I want them just to go visit my site. So this is what it will do. Okay, so it's been a minute. I want to check if our domain has been configured. So let's come back to Vercel, and it seems like it's done. Nice. So now when we go to this link, it's going to show our deployed app. Very, very nice. All right, we've come to the very end of our course. Let's prepare our Product Hunt launch together. Let's go to producthunt.com and click on submit. And to link to our product, let's just put our link here and click on get started. And to create a memorable tagline, I want to give you a good example of one of my past product launches, which is called Junior OK. This one got number 3 product of the day, and this is my tagline at the time. And what it does, it's a job aggregator for entry-level developer/design jobs. Pretty straightforward. I think the key here is to just keep it simple, straightforward, to the point. All right, so for us, create a unique V-Day experience for your special someone. And for the description of the product, I just kept it as customize your questions and images to create a unique experience for your special someone this Valentine's Day. So I know we've already passed that date, but I like to finish what I started. So let's come down to selecting our launch tags, and dating seems to be appropriate, so I'm just gonna choose that. And up next is to write our first comment. Now this is a good place where you can share the backstory of how you come up with that idea, how you built it, how you think it can help people solve problems. So let's craft the message together. So I'll say, hey hunters, with a waving hand emoji. And I'm just gonna reuse what I've already written down here because essentially, well, this is the backstory. So I'll copy this paragraph and put it here. And I'll just read it again to make sure it sounds okay. And at the end, I'll just say, check it out now. Right, let's move on to our next step. And as you can see here, Product Hunt is just fetching the favicon from your app. So if you don't want to use this default Vercel icon, which I think you should really change that, I like to use this little handy tool called AI emojis. Let me show you really quick. So AI emojis, and it generates this Apple style emoji icons, but you can customize it to generate whatever emoji you want. So for me, I want to generate something like a praying cat. And it even gives me some recommendations of the emojis other people generated. But that looks pretty cool. I'm just going to use that. So I'll download that. All right. That looks much better. And the header image, I'm just going to upload my Open Graph image. And for the gallery, because Product Hunt tends to highly compress your image, what I suggest is just to search upscale image. And whatever images that you prepared, make sure you upscale it first before you upload to Product Hunt. Okay, so I have prepared a bunch of images and I'm gonna pretty much, you just want to showcase what your app looks like and how it works. So what I did was just to take some screenshots from inside the editor to show people how this app works. And for the video, I did record a demo video, so I'm just gonna paste the YouTube link here. And I'll click on next steps and just choose I worked on this product, and let's hit next step. Personally, I don't think the shout out is that important, so I usually just skip this step. So I'm gonna click on next step, and this is a paid product and this is a bootstrapped product. Let's move on to our next step. And we are ready to launch. So let's schedule our launch. Again, I know we've passed that date, but you know what? In some places of the world, March 14th is also a Valentine's Day. So let's set the date to be just a week before that. So let's say March 7th. And I'll confirm the scheduled date. And we have successfully scheduled our Product Hunt launch. So we've come to the end of our course, and if you made this far, huge props to you. I hope you learned something valuable, whether it's how to come up with an idea or how to turn that idea into a tangible MVP, or just simply getting more comfortable with the whole process. But now the next step is on you. I want you to go out and launch that idea you've always wanted to build. And most importantly, don't forget to keep iterating. So thanks for watching, and I can't wait to see what you will create.